Welcome to the CEN show, a platform where we learn from the world community. I'm your host, Rasaki Mascani. On the panel this evening, we have Brother E, and we have Professor Amin Ra. Probably soon, a few other people will be joining us. Like I said, here comes one, Brother Mashin. So this evening, we have a returning guest, and I want to show you the topic. Evening. And it's youth development, gaining their trust and admiration. We have back Brother Damian McCalman, and he always visits us with some good information and good dialogue. And I really enjoyed when his mom was on with him. He said it's his third visit. I think it's his fourth. I didn't go back and count it. We almost had 300 videos. So I didn't do my research to go and check and see if this is third or fourth visits. But he's here. Brother Damian, we're just gonna get right into it. So let's get started and welcome back and tell us about this topic this evening.
Okay. Thank you again for having me. Can I have screen share capabilities? And then we'll, okay, here we go. We're in there. All right. So as you can see, today's topic will be, we're going to talk about youth development, gaining trust and admiration from the youth that we work with. And again, I work for a nonprofit organization, Elevate Your Game, where we facilitate mentoring programs on high school campuses in Compton and Long Beach. Right now, I'm serving schools in Compton and Long Beach, but I've served schools in Linwood, Harbor City, the West Adams District. I'm trying to think of any place else. But, I've been doing this work now for 10 years. And so, I'm always trying to find new ways to help develop the youth that I work with. And I worked with youth in different capacities. I worked with youth, of course, throughout the organization or with the organization on high school campuses, after school programs, in school programs, in class programs, and lunch programs. I've done some Boys and Girls Club programs. Volunteered or just to take our curriculum to Boys and Girls Clubs. But I've also done work with youth ministry, different churches in different capacities, working with the youth there. And I think I've always taken the same approach, it didn't matter what capacity I was working in, I've taken the same approach to help develop them, whether, like I said, it's in church or in school or Boys and Girls Clubs. So this topic today is, so it's near and dear to my heart. And I'm gonna tell you where it came from. This particular slideshow presentation. I was watching a movie one Saturday called A Piece of the Action. And it's an old 1977 movie. I was born in 78, so this movie is older than me. But I was just bored, sitting at home, trying to find something to watch. I saw Bill Cosby sitting in Portier. I said, hey, I like the movies that I've seen in the past from them, so let me check this one out. So I'm watching this movie, and seemed like, interjected in the movie are these scenes with Sidney Poitier and youth. I think these youth are out of high school, but they're youth, and they are in a program that's designed to help them get a job. And I'm watching it. I watched it twice now. The first time I watched it, I just watched it. But then the second time, I was like, you know what? They were giving some good nuggets in that movie, in those scenes with the students. So let me go back and take notes. So I went back and took a bunch of notes from this movie and said, you know what? I'm gonna try to apply some of these things as I'm working with our youth, or am I doing some of these things already? So what I wanted to do with you guys is, I know it's, I don't know if all of you guys or some of you guys are educators, but you work with youth in some capacity. So I wanted to take some of the things that I pulled out of the movie and bring them to you guys for sort of a question and answer dialogue throughout the night. So again, it's called youth development. This session is called youth development, but as you can see, it's really you develop. Because I think as I was going through it, this was all about developing the person who was working with the youth. And we're going to get into that. And how can we gain their trust and admiration? So let me see. The first thing, that I pulled out of the movie, these are things that I pulled out of the movie and came to realize that, yeah, that's true. It says that the youth that we serve may not automatically pay attention to what we are trying to teach them, but they automatically pay attention to us. And in the movie, 77, so the girl was saying, I'm hip to your game. So they're paying attention to our quote unquote game, and they're paying attention to the attitude that we have towards them. So in the movie, the lady that's running, that's over the program, she's trying to get another young lady to participate in a mock interview. And throughout the mock interview, the young lady isn't really participating at the level that the instructor wanted her to. So she says, you have an attention span of a 5-year-old. And in that, the young lady says, you know what? She sort of says, what I pay attention to is who you are and the game that you're trying to play on us. So she was just going back at her, like, and it was hard because she put her on blast, if you will. She read her. She was like, this is who you are. You're middle class. You're this. You're high sedity. You're looking at us. You're looking down on us. You live in a nice neighborhood and all of that. So she was telling her, like, I'm not paying attention to what you're teaching me, but I'm paying attention to you. So when you say I have a attention span of a 5-year-old, that's not true. I'm just not paying attention to you. So when we're working with the youth, just know that they may not pay attention to what we're doing and saying, but they're watching us, our attitudes towards them, how we approach them, what we say to them. That's something that they're watching. So then, the question is, what are we administering to them? And I know for those of you guys who are teachers, of course, it's the lesson, but I know you guys, just by hanging out on this show with you from time to time, you're trying to do more. You're doing more. You're not just teaching math or science. You're giving them life lessons, and you're really trying to help develop them completely. So the question, that I want to ask you guys is, what are those things that you're administering to them? What are those things that you're giving to them beyond maybe the topics or the subject? And then is it in the movie? I'm gonna go back and forth. In the movie, the girl is saying, is what you're doing for our benefit, or is it just to make you feel good? Right? So she has this, she's read this instructor, and she's almost saying, whatever you're doing, I believe it's not for our good, but it's to make you feel good. It's to make you feel good about the work that you're doing. And it had me thinking, like, you know what, man, where am I coming from when when I'm engaged with the youth? Is it about me feeling good about my day's work, or is it really geared towards their growth and their development? And for me, I was like, okay, when it's that, of course, I feel good about the day's work. I tell some of my groups, the rougher groups, hey, if one person walk out of this classroom with something valuable, tangible that we talked about, I'm glad. I'm happy, right? But I know I've come to develop that where it's all about not the work, students, the youth. You know what I mean? Like if I go to a program and they're having a rough day, I can close up the curriculum and say, you know what, let's talk about whatever's going on. I've learned to do that and be okay with that. You know, I have to check in with my director weekly. How'd it go? We didn't do the program today. Stuff was going on campus. I just didn't feel right about pulling them in and talking about goals when maybe their classmate was killed. I've been in that situation, right? So it's like I try to administer to them good, but being adjustable, being flexible, should I say. So my first question to you all, and you can think back, you can think present, is what you're administering to them, for their own good, or is it at some level about making yourself feel good? And it may not even be you. It could be the people that you work as educators when it applies to this. What are the educators around you administering to them? And do you think it's for the students' good, or is it just about them feeling good about the work that they do? I'm,
All
I'm gonna
right.
open it up
Okay.
there.
Okay. I'm gonna start with Brother E. Brother E, have you worked with kids before?
No, I have not. Just on a personal level, just throughout the community and cousins and different people of that nature. But no kids directly I have worked with.
Okay, well, the interactions between you and family members or people that are considered youth, how would you approach this question? How would you answer it?
Basically, try to lend some knowledge about what's going on around them. Things that may be occurring, at school with them, or in the neighborhood with them. I come at them as as a peer almost,
Mm.
kind of going to their level, not really talking, talking their lingo, but, just talk to them being concerned, just, lending an ear there and just being there for them, being supportive. And, I do it to make myself feel good. Yes, indeed. But at the end of the day, I do it to try to uplift that child or whoever, just to make our community better. And, for them to have someone they know they could, you know, depend on, or, ask me a question or anything of that nature. I just be there for them.
Okay, okay, Brother Mashenda.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, welcome back, Brother McCalman.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think interesting question. And I think very pertinent, in terms of how we deal with youth. I think that's an excellent question. Yeah, I have many years of working with youth, teaching, counseling, different aspects in my professional life over many, many years. And you know, my philosophy, I guess you can say, or philosophy that I've taken on, from learning and, taking advice and information from others, that type of thing, just like what you're presenting tonight, which just basically either a reinforcement or introducing either new ideas or just a continuation of what I've been doing or what others have been doing as far as trying to make a difference in lives of our youth. But today I had a conversation with another teacher. I'm working in post-secondary at this time, been doing that for many, many years, but uh, there's a class that's going on where there are 17 and 18-year-olds. Now they're out of high school now. They either have a GED or high school diploma. And so I'm applying it to that. And the teacher has it's a technical community college. And so they're learning a trade, basically. They're actually trying to become electric linemen, to work with the utility companies and things like that. But anyway, the teacher has had absolutely no teaching experience. He had a lot of industry experience. And one thing, they hire people, there's different qualifications to get hired on where I work at. And this guy comes with a lot of industry experience, but very little teaching experience. So we consider him a new teacher. And he and I have been having, I've been giving him a few pointers and things like that along these same lines as far as, getting, because he said he's having trouble with about 3 of them. A couple of brothers that's a little rough around the edges that come out the neighborhood that, for whatever reason, strong mom, no dad in the house, that's and I already knew that before he knew that because, I'm kind of on the front line when they come in to student services and I kind of get to know them and I, have my own way of communicating with them and getting to know them because I'll be doing my own follow-up as they matriculate through their college experience. However, but I gave, just in short, though, not to take up a lot of time, I was pretty much imparting upon the new instructor. He's a white guy, probably 50 something years old. And he's still, so he has no classroom experience, don't understand classroom dynamics. And so he wanted to know, how do I get them to, I said, first of all, these are not your employees. This is the community coming to school, trying to take their, trying to advance their lives. And, they chose your subject matter to try to improve their position in life. And I said, it's imperative that you get to know each of your students. You have to cook to order, so to speak, to individuals and learn who they are and what makes them tick. Now, I know there's a curriculum that has to take place, but I'm like, you, Brother McCalman, we're going to have to we're going to have to talk about something else today to try to, regain our order, not just order, but just to find out what's going on so we can communicate. And I find that position is very valuable in the short run. And of course, for them to meet their objective in the long run is to graduate and become, gainfully employed. So, yeah, playing school, there's no value in playing school. We have to dissect situations. We have to lay it all on the table and do our best as educators to not only give them the subject matter, but when they have hiccups or when they turn left on you or they whatever's going on in their lives, we have to be involved in that. And we can't save the world per se, but at the end of the day, it goes a long way to add that to the bottom line, to their matriculation, and then when they see that you care, they see that you're concerned, and sometimes you have to give tough love and all the other stuff. But at the end of the day, when they see that you care, no matter what, it's going to be some respect because, the human being, these kids, they know when somebody is trying to, that's not, holding them at best interests or trying to sabotage their experience or whatever. But when you're being honest and you're being forthwith and you're basically showing that, hey, I want you to learn, then you get a lot more accomplished that way. So I subscribe to that. And so I'll rest at this moment. So I appreciate the conversation. Look forward to hearing more.
Brother Mashinda.
Yes.
So what about, is it for their good or is it to make you feel good?
Well, let me say this. I feel good that I have the opportunity to impart what, the information and knowledge that I have. That's where I feel good. The fact that I'm in their presence, to be able to give them the game, so to speak. So that's where I feel good. I feel good in the beginning that I've been placed there to kind of show, to help them move through life and to to provide certain experiences that I may have or just things to draw on. But that's where I get my fulfillment. And of course, like it happened many times, and of course, I'm in the community all the time. I might be at the gas station or in Walmart or at a store, and I run into people from over the last 20 years, and they run up. They don't run, but some of them do. Man, I remember you told me this, and thank you for this. I'm being thanked every day. So I feel good when they remembered something. It does make me feel good that, but that comes after the fact, But I'm feeling good on the front end, being kind of on the front line in the battle every day, being put in that position to try to help those youngsters. So that's where I get my fulfillment. So mine is already done. My just being there, I'm fulfilled already.
Now, I just want to mention before I go to Brother Hendrick. Now, the movie Piece of the Action was preceded by Uptown Saturday Night, and then you had Let's Do It Again, and then Piece of Action came last. It was a series of movies with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, among some other great Black actors. So yeah, I would inspire anybody to see those three movies because they are classics, and it wasn't like Black exploitation movies, if you ask me. Somebody could correct me if they think that, but excellent movies. Okay, Brother Hendrick.
Yes, sir. What was the question again?
You can you see the screen?
Yeah. Oh, what
It's
are we?
right there.
Well, a lot of years of experience, loved it all. Been on both sides, dealing with the students and the teachers also. Uh, I like what Brother Machinda said, as soon as they know you care, you kind of got them. That's very important. And what I would try to do as a teacher and what I would tell other teachers to do if they could, whatever your curriculum is presenting, how can you make it apply to their world to get their interest? I remember one time I was talking about prohibition on a unit, and it was about when alcohol was illegal, for those who don't know. And I told the kids, now what if you couldn't buy a soda nowhere? What if it was illegal to buy a soda? And that sparked, you can't get no soda. They don't want to hear that. So that made it relate to them. And so that's what you have to it's kind of like being a doctor. You gotta diagnose the patient. What do they need? And how can you get them to see how this is helping them in life and all of that. I went through the gamut of a whole lot of stuff all through the years. So I loved it though. That was my challenge, to make it so where they can get it. Because, most curriculum, it ain't got us in it, is boring and dry anyway. So you got to spice it up some. And I always try to, put some Black and Latino heroes in the situation. That gets their interest too, whoever my, audience is. So that's pretty much how you get the kids. And once you get them, and then something that you taught them works for them, they have success with it, and then you really got them. So, but I've had some I told certain stuff to, they didn't like to hear it and didn't believe it, but down the line, as they got grown, they saw what I was talking about. I see, it's like Machinda, everywhere I go, I'm running into somebody I've taught or coached or something like that. And all of them say they always liked me because I kept it real. I remember while at Centennial, we had these couple of students who had ditched, and they was down the street at a hamburger stand, and they had recently checked in, and they were Bloods, and Centennial was a Blood school. And by this hamburger stand is like the Crip territory, the mob. So this old guy came in there, old dude, and they was sweating him. Hey, what's up, boo? And he responded, representing where he came from. And so these youngsters jumped on the dude. His old brother jumped on him and was beating him pretty bad. And one of the older guys, neighborhood gang members came by and saw it and started shooting him and shot and killed one of the kids. And so they were announcing at the school that the kids were just there eating a hamburger and blah, blah, blah. And they got shot, which I knew that wasn't a real story. So I was sharing with my students, look, you never know who you're dealing with. So treat people with respect. They thought they could, bombard this old man and beat him up, and you see what they got. They got handles. So, always respect who you're dealing with, because you never know, what could happen and who they are and all of that. And then on the other side, dealing with teachers, whew, it's a hard nut to crack, brother. And what I would do for them was play Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Wake up, everybody. Time to teach a new way. Then maybe they'll listen to what you got to say. But some of them, they stuck where they're stuck at. They have no business in an urban area. They don't know nothing about it. All they know is that curriculum, and they get paid to cover that. They cover it no matter how boring it might be. And that's how they get discipline problems. And then they spend a whole lot of time writing referrals. I knew some teachers that had referrals already written out with the kid's name on it and just waiting for an incident they could fill it out and send them in because they didn't know how to handle it. But it's a challenge. I will say it's not for everyone. And the kids gonna find out right away. They're gonna find out right away. So, like I said, it was a pleasure for me. I loved every minute of it. I wish I could go back and do some from time to time. And the check wasn't bad. That was good too. I ain't gonna lie about that. The coaching checks was lousy. I think we was making like 14 cents an hour on the coaching stuff. But when you can have an effect on a kid and you see that later in life, the kind of effect it had on them. Because I had certain theories that I taught them. One was the 5 P's, planning and preparation prevents poor performance. And I always started them off with no LBS, which is no laziness, and figure out what the BS means, since we can't say that on the air. But I would tell them, you could be anything you want to be in life, and you can eliminate, LBS from your life, and make a chart. Everything you do during the course of the day, does it come on the laziness side or the BS side? Okay, and then you can look and see, you can see yourself what you're doing. So I taught them about property ownership and the whole nine. And even if you live in the ghetto, it could be clean. It can, you ain't got to have paper on the ground and trash everywhere. The vegetation might not, or even your clothes. You can't buy what everybody's buying. At least your stuff can be clean. You know what I'm saying? So just stuff like that. But anyway, I loved it, and I wouldn't change a thing. So I'm through.
All right, thanks. Professor Rob?
Abani Ghani, everyone. It's good to hear your voice. And first, I want to say Asante Sana, which is thank you, many thanks. The grains of sand on the ocean floor are few compared to the many thanks I give to Brother Rashaki and those of you that was on the program last night in my absence. And I just want to tell you, I deeply appreciate y'all keep on pushing, even though, some of us may be having issues. And then second, I want to say thanks to Damian for coming back and sharing his wealth of knowledge. Working with people is the hardest thing in the world. You can work with a machine, you get mad at it, you just cut it off. But humans are different. And they have different life experiences. I was blessed to come up in Watson, Compton in a big family. And you learn from that experience, your family experience. You learn from your community experience. And you learn from your education and mentors and others that surround you. And the learning is not just for you, but it's also equips you to be able to communicate with young people and win their hearts and minds. Because as Joe said, they see that you're real because you went through a lot of life experiences, even though I was fortunate to go through different generations of young people whose life was different. When we was coming along, people made their own skates, made Union 5 skates when I was a kid. And they made their scooters with, skates and wood. And they put their own bikes together, some of them who wanted bikes. And you come up in a community, some people of us, I came up in a poor community. The majority of us was poor, even though they had some working families around. But a lot of us was poor, And all of that helped shape my understanding of how to communicate to young people. I worked with Team Post. I worked with Catholic Youth Organization. When I was in Linwood, I was over the LOC room. That's the Learning and Opportunity Room Center, whereas if the kids were late or teachers kicked them out of class, they came and sat with me. And he got me a chance to sharpen my skills on communication by the mistakes I made. You understand? In talking to some of them, and then just trying to, you can't, as Joe was saying, and as Machina was saying, you can't, and Brother E, you can't use one brush to deal with all the kids, because they all have different experiences and different challenges. And the mark of a good kid is how they act when you ain't around, and what they do when you ain't around. It's like a brother in jail saying, "Hey, look, man, I ain't gonna never use drugs." Well, you're in jail. Your challenge is when you get out, and your partners and everybody around you still using. Different family structures, they call them households now. They don't even call them families. When I was coming up, it was family. But now they're households because you got different structures in the household. We had extended families, but now you got augmented families and families, people taking care of people who was abandoned, and you got homeless kids. It's a different game out there. And so when you start talking about administering to them, I don't think that I would use that term. I would use, communicate to them, and what was your goal? What was your purpose? It's one thing to do things, as Joe was saying, and saying, because you're getting paid. is another thing. You're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and you know, and you develop the skills. Yeah, you know, I once was talking to a young man. Said, "Man, I want to talk to you, the kids." I said, "Well, yeah." But he had an earring in his ear, and he had a gang, them big old gang shirts with all the squares in it and tattoos. I said, I just looked at him and said, "Man, I couldn't let you talk to my kids." He said, "But I can relate to them." I said, "I don't want you to relate to them. I want them to relate to you." You know, and that's a whole new different game. So it is a challenging thing. You know, you have to love what you're doing when you're working with young people, and that gives you the ability to tolerate them. Like you're dealing with a woman that mistreats you, but you still love her. You're dealing with disappointments, but you still love all kids. You love young people, even though one may cuss you out, even though one may steal your things out your desk or steal something of value that you have. You don't blame all kids and start, you know, doing different things. But I remember I worked at the Compton Community Center, and they broke in and stole the color TV. But I had such a good relationship with the young people. They came and told me who had it. And so we went and got it. And then they did it again, and they told me we went and got it. So, you know, that's winning the trust, admiration, and let them know that that TV wasn't just for me, it was for all y'all. So when they took the color TV, y'all couldn't watch, you know, Soul Train or whatever we was watching on the weekends or whatever. And like that piece of the action with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, and I forget the sister, I think she married Jim Hill, and then they got a divorce, but they assigned them to go work with youth. One was a hustler and one was a thief or something. I think Bill Cosby was the thief, and Sidney Poitier was a money hustler or something. And they got caught, and they assigned them to go work. And Bill Cosby said, "I'll go out and raise money or do something." And Sidney Poitier had to hold the classes together. And the whole theme of the picture was, you know, you want a piece of the action to the young people. And, you know, that's an American concept of a piece of the action is getting yourself together, getting some money and stuff like that. But the point is that it's a challenging thing. It's good, Damian, that you, what's the name of your nonprofit?
Elevate your game.
Huh?
Elevate your game.
Elevate your game. Is it yours or are you working with someone?
I work for my director.
Director, okay.
Who founded it, yeah.
Okay, and it's called Elevate Your Game.
Yes.
And say, what is the curriculum? You said y'all have a curriculum you have to follow.
Well, no, we just try to stay within the structure of encouraging them to elevate their grades, attendance, maturity, to empower them to be leaders.
Oh, okay, leaders of themselves and others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I'd like to know what the curriculum is and because you said you had to stick with the curriculum. Your supervisor, you know, and you said something like that. Second, I'd like to, so he gets funded or he gets contracts with schools?
We're privately funded, and we'll create, we get, like we're in the Compton Unified approved to be there. You know what I mean?
But do they fund you or what?
No funding from them.
Okay, but he gets funded somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And see, that's important because, you know, like I said, me, Joe, and Rasha Key, we deal with youth all the time. And I remember when Joe told me about 2 or 3 of his kids got killed. And it's a different level of it. We used to have fights, but not, you wake up in the morning, kid got shot or kid got arrested, and he's at juvenile hall and jail and things of this nature. I remember we was coming up, and cats wanted to go to juvenile hall to lift weights and come back. They look, man, I'm big, man. I got big in juvenile hall, and do 6 months, and they love it. All they do is lift weights, and they come out looking good. But times have changed in so many ways with regards to the day kids with automation and technology. They got phones to their ears. They got 30, 40 stations, and a lot of them have nothing but sex in it. You understand? I mean, I remember when we was coming up, girls wore virgin pins, and that was a virtue. They wore a pin that I'm a virgin. And if you got somebody pregnant, you had to marry them almost. In your mind, you marry them. It's a different value system out there now. And you have to be up on those value systems in order to communicate. We listened to love songs, and we used to dedicate them to our girlfriend. You can't hardly dedicate the songs that's out there now. You understand? I'm gonna kill you if I'm gonna stick my thing in your mouth, nose, butt, everything. You know what I mean? It's a different game out there. And you got to try to bring them in from that cobweb of confusion and fantasy world of being in a hot tub with 6 women and the consequences of that, And then girls, they want to be in the hot tub with you. You understand? I mean, it's a different game out there. And you have to be up on top of all of that. I couldn't talk to kids. I can use some of my experiences coming up, but I had to understand their experiences. Those structures they have, and so that's why I'll be interested in what y'all cover in order to get an idea of the program, because Elevate Your Game, that's a beautiful name, but it's a challenging. I mean, it's catchy. It's a very catchy thing. But how do you get youth to elevate their life? Because that's what you're saying. Elevate your game. You mean elevate your life with values, virtues, and ethics, and so, and a sense of having a direction and maturity. You understand? I love the way Joe put such an emphasis on nutrition, him and Rasha Key. I don't know if that's a part of your curriculum, serious nutrition and exercise and personal care, because they're gonna grow and they're gonna get older. And you try to give them a vision of where you're gonna be in 10 years, where you're gonna be in 5 years. And it's one thing to want to be something, it's another thing to do the work to be it. And that's the challenge. So it's a good thing when you say administering. I just think you mean teaching and communicating and relating to them. So it's a good concept. I'm glad you were there. In these schools, talking to them. But I think the majority of your clients now are Latino. Is that correct?
Compton, yeah. Long Beach, no.
Well, Long Beach have schools where they send African Americans to.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this is the reason.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, because schools changed with me and
Yeah.
children. When Rasha Key was going to school, you had to go to school in your district. Now you can go to any school, you know. And now they got charter schools, and then private schools saw that there's money in the athletic. So Bourbon Day and Sarah, all them schools start recruiting our kids, you know. But good. Joe has his hand up.
Oh yeah, brother. Yeah, I heard the name. Matter of fact, I'm familiar with the elevator game. It was at Centennial when I was working there. Is Mr. Freeman the director of this program?
Yes.
And do you still have Gibson Lyles? Wasn't he with you at one time?
Yes, he's the chairman.
Oh, okay. Okay, that gives me a little more. I know Freeman's brother well.
Yes.
Freeman. But anyway, my question is because I saw the clientele they were getting at Centennial
Mhm.
seemed to be like the more so the C plus on up type students
Mhm.
that were there. I never saw any lower level kids there
Mhm.
to elevate their game. So my question is how is you guys outreach to those lower level kids that maybe they're because they can't read or can't do computation,
Mhm.
that sort of stuff, and with the situation that they're growing up in, a lot of them in group homes, foster homes, and that sort of thing. Uh, uh, does your curriculum target those type of kids at all?
I'll say it targets, like, let's say when I recruit, I go to not every class, but I might go to all the English or math classes. So it's a voluntary program. Uh, we've had it where we've had the principal select those students who weren't, C and below. But getting them in and staying, that's always a challenge because it's like, I think someone mentioned students who don't go to class, they get sent to another class. They don't have that sort of thing anymore. So when we go to the schools and say, hey, we, like you said, I got students who 3.0 and above. Okay, cool. Do you need it? Do you need the program? It looks good for you. But what about the ones who really, really need it? It's hard to keep them in a program unless so what I started to do is partner with classes. Long Beach Unified has them where they target these students in middle school and say, okay, well, here's 60 students who have been labeled. I can't think of the program labeled
At risk.
at risk, but they use another term now. But yeah, and work with them. So it's like good because they put them in the class. You know what I mean? So that's the easier way to get them because they have to go to class. They have to be accountable. But getting them to go to like an after school program or even in our lunch program just hasn't worked. And I've been doing it for 10 years. So I've been at Centennial for 10.
Let me ask you this. Those ones that you say fall through the cracks,
Mhm.
and you see the potential of that occurring, do you guys spend time, outside the program? Because a lot of kids that have these difficulties are embarrassed in front of other kids, for that being known.
Yeah.
Question is, outside of the program time,
Mhm.
target any of those kids and like get with them on one-on-one and that sort of thing and try to work them through it?
Mm-hmm. We've done it. I've done it, like you said, I've done it at Centennial a few times where we've had the principal say, hey, this kid right here just don't go to class. Can you sit and talk with him? Sure. I'm here. I usually try to dedicate a day to a certain school. So like if I'm at Centennial's on Friday, I got all day Friday, because I'm at another school Monday through Thursday. But yeah, we've done that. And like I've even told them like, hey, you don't have to come to the program. Here's my number. Give me a number. Or I've had parents like you said, these kids and other, they might have a social worker. They might have something who know about us on campus. Hey, can you talk to this student? Let's do it. I had one who would go to the social worker's office and she would call me up every so often. Can you come over and talk to him? Yeah, we can do that. But like you said, it's harder to keep them because they're, like you said, on the other end. Where I had one kid who he didn't participate in the actual program, but he would come every week, and I would ask his friend, like, how can I get him to talk? And he was like, you're good just getting him to school today, or period. So I'm like, well, cool. You know what I mean? If he don't want to talk, if he's listening, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? But I understand now that it's just good to get him here.
I, I got another question.
Go for
Uh, I remember last time you were on the show, you had your mom there and talking about your background and all that, right?
it. Yeah.
So, as a student yourself going through school, from what I recall, you were never doing what those students do in school. You never ditched, you never did none of that.
Yeah.
My point is, sometimes you got to be from the jungle to deal with those that are in the jungle. I know I used to ditch myself and all of that, because the curriculum just wasn't suited to me and whatnot. And so I just want to make that point because sometimes when you like in drug rehab programs, you
Mm-hmm.
person that's been on drugs.
Yeah.
So how do you see that gap in between where those kids are and how your life was in order to bridge the gap to make the connection?
I've seen it go both ways. Because I've had some, like I got a group now who, they gang bang heavy. And I tell them straight up, like, look, I've never been in the game. That was never something that I was a part of. But I know folks who are and have. So, I always, when I get those, I try to reach out to them and say, hey, how do I talk to this kid? How do I deal with this kid? What's the issue? What's the real thing? And one of them was my cousin who's like, look, here it is. So then I go back when I see them, I approach them a little bit differently, but I try to do it where, because like you said, I might have a kid who's heavy into gangs. I got a kid who's heavy into stealing. I'm like, I can't, I'm not going to act like I've done what you've done, but I can tell you what I did to not do what you did. You know what I mean? And some respect it, some just say, okay, well, cool. But then if need be, I always bring in people who can relate and talk to them, say, hey, I spent my whole youth. I got a cousin who spent his whole youth in the system from 13 to about 28. So I'm like, okay, I need you to come speak to a group of boys. I got them. You understand them better than I do. Come talk. And he'll come whenever I need him. And then I can go from there. But yeah, I let them know from the door, like, look, this is my life. This is how I grew up. I'm just here to give you other things to think about, or think about the things that you don't think about. And for the most part, I'm gonna say for the most part, they respected it and kept it. But I think the ones who I might not have reached, they wasn't gonna come regardless. Because I had one who told me, if what you're telling me in that room is not gonna make me money today, I don't want it. I said, you know what? What I'm telling you in that room is not gonna put money in your pocket today. Because he was like, I can go over there and shoot dice. Okay. I can't do nothing about that. I'm not gonna give you, you know what I mean, what you couldn't make out there. So he never showed up, but his boy did. His boy was like, well, what are you guys talking about? I told him. He was like, I'll come by, check it out. He came by. So I was like, I can't get you because you're all about making that today. And we're not shooting dice in there. So I'm not gonna even, I would talk to him, I would say hi to him, say what's up whenever. But I'm like, okay, nothing I can do with that situation. So I think I've done it that way.
I hear you. I used to get them, those like that. That
Mhm.
I said, I got this book. You read this book, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. When I come back, you can answer them. I'll pay you. I'll pay you
Mhm.
money out of my pocket, to do
Yeah.
that. So there's all kind of ways to skin the cat. But
Yeah.
it's good that you bring people in. I used to bring people from the penitentiary every Monday
Oh
after
yeah.
after lunch. I had a principal like send all the gang members to me.
Hmm.
Have people talking to them about what they're going to run into and all that. It
Yeah.
didn't do a whole lot of good.
Yeah.
But where the kids will say, Mr. Henrik is just too much blood been shed.
Uh-huh.
Everybody keep shedding blood, ain't gonna be no blood left. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But anyway, all right, appreciate you, brother. I'm done. Move on, brother Rashaki. I'm sure you got some comments.
Right. Brother Damian,
Yes, sir.
you have another question?
I do. I do. And I'll say it
Yeah.
just for you know, Professor Ra. I used the word administering just because that's the word that she used in the movie. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is her the character's mindset, which I think like I'm glad you pointed it out because I had to, I went and did some defining. I was like, okay, what does that word mean? What could it mean? How could it be taken? And I'm glad you pointed it out because that could come from a different angle. Like I'm administering something versus teaching and communicating. So I'm glad you did that. But I used it because it was part of her conversation with Sidney Poitier's character.
Brother,
Yeah, that was then though. That was then. So you said how old the movie was.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I
And
think it's still, and I think I used it because I think, like you said, talking with teachers and administrators, I've heard them even like say the word. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This is still being communicated in that sense. But when I'm talking to them, no, I'm not thinking administering. I'm just like, I'm just going for it. I think Brother Hembrick was going to say something else.
this, this is the movie where each kid, they tore $100 bill and gave
Yeah,
half. Okay,
yeah.
got you.
I'll go to the next one. Uh, and I think you guys are answering these questions as we go. And I want to focus on the second part of this because in the movie again, do you work with teachers who see the youth in your schools or the schools that you work with as the quote unquote least of them? And I think, like I said, I've seen teachers, I'm with teachers. Some of them I know see the students as the least of them. I'm on high school campuses, and I was talking to some folks who were leading a Bible club in one of the schools that I'm at. And I'm like, where are you guys from? We're from Monrovia. Why are you coming from Monrovia all the way to Compton to teach a Bible club? But in doing my research on them, they had the mindset of we want to work with the least of them. And when I'm looking at, I know where that comes from. That comes from the Bible. I'm like, okay, they've taken that far, right? But that's still something that's going on today, where I know teachers who look at the students that we serve in our communities, Compton, Long Beach, Linwood, Crenshaw High School. These are the least of them, right? And that's out there. So when I'm thinking, go for it.
Brother Damien, could you say that you could replace that with um, the less fortunate?
Yep, you can replace it with that.
Well, I'm saying, and that would be more. So another way of looking at the least of them is like beneath you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know you could say less fortunate, but the
Yeah,
least of them is I would look at it as a negative.
yeah. And I think
Okay,
some look at it as negative, and then some look at it in that less fortunate part. You know what I mean? Like some are like, okay, they're beneath me. They need me. They need what I have. versus they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the wisdom that's needed. So I think you could take that phrase, and that's why, again, that's why I use it, because I think we can see it in different spectrums. And I try to, like, when I've been in youth development courses, classes, where I've heard this phrase and it rubbed me the wrong way. Because I'm like, come on, why you think they're the least of them? And I have to ask, like, why is that the thought, and what do you mean? Because I'm like, that's not.
Well, it's not just that. That's like you said, that's a spiritual thing with the Bible.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying this. There are teachers that, to them, it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
To some teachers, it's a profession.
Mm-hmm.
But some, it's a job. They just, hey man, they beat the kids out the gate going home.
Yeah.
Then you got unions involved.
Mhm.
See, when we was coming up, we had strong PTAs.
Yeah.
We had strong vocational shop, metal shop, iron shop, print shop, drafting. In junior high, all the way through high school, you had on-campus clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Academic, this Spanish club, French
Mm-hmm.
club, this law school, laws club, or pre-law, whatever. And then sports, if you didn't get a C, you couldn't play.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you was an exceptional athlete, and then they sometimes would let you play anyway, because they
Yeah.
want to win. But, they generated a lot of fundraising in student activities, for candy drives, this drive, that drive. But as Joe said, if you put some incentives in there,
Mm-hmm.
we had a tutoring program, we fed them lunches when we started at Compton College. Before then, they just came. But, and it was free tutoring. But, you didn't get, like you said, you didn't get the kids that really needed the tutoring. You get kids that wanted to just keep getting an A.
Yeah.
And, getting a B, or their parents just say, hey, you go to tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
We did that from 79 to 2004.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then second, it's a challenge because, like the exposure these young kids have,
Mm-hmm.
and the challenge of not being and it's like when you're in school, you got your class under control, but the next teacher don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids go to them, and then they go mad, and go wild. But in your classroom, it's tight. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a matriculation thing. You have to create a culture,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the seniors and the sophomores and juniors set the tone for the sixth graders that come there. If
Mm-hmm.
everybody's studying and if everybody going to class, that's what they'll do.
Mm-hmm.
But when they see the seniors and the juniors just hanging out, smoking cigarettes, shooting dice behind the gym, or hanging out by the fence and nobody saying nothing to them, jumping the fence and going home at midnight, that creates a culture also.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, you have a big challenge of trying to communicate to young people that you don't want to get caught in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas school don't mean nothing to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that you got to go to because your parents make you, and it's a law. It's
Mm-hmm.
compulsory. And you don't care about your grades.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care about your standard test that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
You just go to school to go see women or go see men, or
Mm-hmm.
just to go and see. even the way the kids and the teachers dress today, that throws us off because we were tied every day, as teachers, and when I was coming up, at least I did, and something neat and clean all the time. Now, man, the teachers, some teachers now, but some teachers just, they dress worse than people on the street sometimes, and man, it's just a different game out there now.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
how you have to change and get people to see you different. And like I tell my kids, you don't want the world to change you. You want to change the world.
so Professor Ra,
Yeah.
this is can I jump in real quick on this?
Yeah.
Just by what you said, as far as you saying how the teachers dress. When I look at this question, how do we look at the youth that we serve? Well, I look at them as a victim of circumstance, because just with what you said, there's rules and regulations in place, and if the adults are not enforcing rules and regulations, they're not setting the example of how you should dress. The kids are being victimized by incorrect presentation from administration and teachers. And like you just said, you have one class where there's control, and then you go a couple doors down, there's no control. I could see where the kids are being victimized because you don't have proper administration, you don't have proper preparation. So I see them. You said, do we see them as the least of them? No, I see them as they're really unfortunate, because the type of society, how society is now, is geared towards more of the changing in technology, how technology has, in a sense, dummied down students. You went through a pandemic, which students were socially promoted, where they missed basically a whole year of school, a year and a half. So I see them as victims, and then being a teacher now, I have to compensate for what is lacking, which is most of the adults in their lives is not giving them what they need. So I have to look for ways to compensate and do my best to serve them with structure, with an example, with being straightforward with them and letting them know the reality of what's really going on in the way I see it. And I think with that question earlier, I think with me being the way I am, I think they get something out of it. I don't compliment myself at all, but I get it from staff and I get it from students, get it from parents. So it's something that I'm doing that's evidently, effective, but I'm not into that. But I just see where they're being victimized because they're not being provided with the type of education structure that they need. And it's sad. And also curriculums. In 2000, they came with legislation that is No Child Left Behind. That placed in mathematics, that placed ninth graders with algebra in the ninth grade. Then you had geometry in the 10th, algebra 2 in the 11th grade. That is a non-realistic structure for teaching mathematics when you have a large amount of students who don't even know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fundamentally. And so when the adults intervene and give unrealistic type situation, the students suffer even more. So we at a big crossroads right now with technology, uh, teachers not being prepared, not being properly trained before school starts. It's a whole bunch of dynamics that affects the students in a negative way. So I could talk on and on about that, but that's how I would answer that question, that the students are being victimized by the adults because the adults is the biggest issues that's going on. All right.
Yeah, you have a lot of teachers that have used all their sick time, and then they use somebody else's. You know, they just they're stressed out. Many of them are unhappy. Many of them going through divorces, separations, going through financial issues, family issues themselves, and so the mark of a teacher is not to let that affect your relationship or your ability to be effective at the classroom. But some of them it does. You'd be surprised at the problems some teachers have. But running a school is a culture and an atmosphere that you can run your class and shut the door. And so, when the kids get in and say, hey, if you're late, you can't come in. But, you got to get here or you're going to be on the outside, all that type of stuff. And that's a good thing for some teachers. At least you're trying to create a safe haven for the kids and no tolerance from that standpoint. And then you may, say, hey, look, we're gonna have a nice party, somebody's birthday that week in school, and sometimes you put music on, and you have to come up with creative ways of communicating and incentives. My son was the principal. He changed the whole mold of being in school. You understand? He did, he just, now he goes around the country teaching people about revolutionary culture in public education. But educator, you can't teach your students the way you teach your own kids. You can teach some of the things you teach your own kids, but these kids, man, they be saying, I'm stressed, man. I need to go outside, man. I'm finna trip on y'all. You understand? And man, it's a whole different game out there. But having programs like Damian have helped in many ways. At least there's some kids that's going to take advantage of it, and some some aren't because of different reasons. Maybe they want to come and participate in programs, but they got to go home and watch their little brothers and sisters or pick them up from the school on the way home. There are different reasons why people and sometimes you got to just talk to them and get to know them, as Joe and Machinda was saying. You got to get to know them by sitting there having one-on-one talk with them, and develop a good relationship where they have respect for you and they know you care. And as Joe said, it's gonna cost you a couple of dollars here and there, and some of them gonna be running game on you. I need transportation to get home. I got to catch the bus. I need a couple of dollars, and you see them over there shooting dice with your money. playing tonk, 3-card Molly, whatever they do, and some just go by, I mean, I mean, they got some drugs out there now, fentanyl and some strong weed that, is different, it's different from the little old Mexican weed we used to get, it's from Mexico, you got names for it, and, it's legal, so they get it from their parents. It's a different game out there. That's the only thing I can say. And you got to be up on them as the communicator. You got to be up on it. You got to know gang talk, drug talk, street talk. You got to be able to, hear when somebody calling each other cuz or blood and stuff. You got to be on top of that. If you don't think it means anything, then fights break out. And same thing with, trusting, and you leave your wallet there or leave your purse, and then you say, somebody stole it, and, you got to be on top of it, protect yourself and protect your valuables, but at the same time, value the students and trust them too. But, you trust them, but that don't mean you leave your stuff out. It's different out there, man. When you got 30, 40 students in one class, some of them don't have to worry about it, because if you got a strong math class or a strong Spanish class or strong science class, very few students are going to take that. They take the basic skills. They just want to meet the minimum requirement to graduate. They're going to end up in community college at 30 or 33. Or get a vocational. They're not even thinking about applying for college, a year ahead. That's a requirement. To get in college, you have to apply a year ahead. You got to take the SATs. Even though some states have gotten rid of it, but you got to have a vision for your future. That's all I have to say.
All right, Brother Damian.
I think Brother Hembrick might have unmuted.
Oh no, that wasn't nothing. I just wanted to say about, when Rob was talking about, you can't leave your stuff laying around. I remember one time I was in the weight room and this kid was lifting, some weight that he really couldn't handle. And I had my keys on the chair, like in my lap. And so the weight was falling on him. So I jumped up to help him before it hurt him, And when I got back, my keys was gone. This keys to the gym, weight room, everything, equipment room. I said, look here, you guys go find out my keys and bring them back. And the kids brought them back to me.
Yeah.
I said, till I get them, I'm running y'all to death. We ain't weight room, so you better go find my keys. So whoever had them, I say, ain't gonna be no repercussions, but I want them back right now. About 5 minutes later, they come back, So, but after you've established a amount of respect with them, you can deal with them.
They like you, man. They like you, and some of your students like you, man. You didn't like you, you still be looking for them keys.
Oh, and I got some people that saw the way I dealt with the students, and they tried it, but they hadn't, developed enough respect yet. I like, you ain't, they ain't gonna take that from you. They don't know you, they don't respect you, so you just better be quiet and learn, watch and learn. Because guys used to ask me, man, how do you handle? I had like 88 kids in the PE class, and my stuff was 10-8. When I hit that door, if everybody wasn't on their number ready for roll call, they know we're getting ready to run till we get tired. And I'll run with them, So I say, I don't want to hear it. If my old butt can be out here doing it, you can do it. So I loved it, man. I miss it sometimes. I don't feel like getting up early in the morning no more to be there. But I sure miss it. And I intend to come up there and make a visit here real soon. you know, back up to Centennial. I love that school, although I'm a tar babe and my Centennial students would tell me, no, Mr. Henry, you ain't no tar baby. You're an Apache. But I only spent 3 years at Compton, and I've been here for about 20, so you might be right. And my alumni, man, what you doing over there at that school? One thing I loved about Centennial is that it was built for black folks.
Mhm.
Compton High was following white folks, and that kind of got me right there, you know. Man, I talked to some of the, I had some friends that were in the original class when they built Centennial. Raw, you know him, Lee Sampson and all those guys, you know. Rock,
Paul,
one, two, what's the guy named the track coach with the bow ties, Rashiki?
Who?
They called him
Right.
Bobo. Call him Bobo. I can't think of his name. You remember when we used to do the tailgate and he used to wear the bow ties all the time?
I forgot.
Passed some years back. Little short brother. You was real good friends with him, Rashiki.
Oh, you talking about Coach Simmons?
Is that his name? Okay.
Yeah, Bobo. Yeah, Coach Simmons.
Yeah, I got him one time because he was one like to kick kids out of class, right? And he was the track coach. And so I was at Compton High then. And so I was taking a shower one night and I was like, I gotta get to this brother because he ain't hearing me. I said, so anyway, I got him. I went back to him the next day. I said, Mr. Coach Simmons. I said, you kicking kids out because they can't read and stuff, right? And so you having problems. I said, Mr. Simmons, you're a track coach, right? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I said, so if you was teaching a kid how to do the triple jump, are you gonna just give him a book? Are you gonna demonstrate or illustrate? He started grinning because he knew I had him. You know, I said, that's what you got to do with these kids that can't read.
Mhm.
When they read, they're gonna create a discipline problem. So you have to teach another way, man. So anyway, I don't think it was too effective even because he was about ready to retire at that time. So anyway, good show, brother. Appreciate you. And some of that executive board folks that's with y'all, I know some of them, and they're not of the mindset that we're talking about.
Hmm.
At least one of them I know is not. You probably know who he is because he's whispering all the time. I'm out, man.
I can't share the show now. But I'll say this. I think you know, when I was watching the movie, made me think of how we do what we do. Right. So all these questions that I'm posing to you guys, you're the first people other than my wife that I'm sharing this with, but I'm gonna take it to my organization and ask them, which includes the board, volunteers, whatever, you know, how do we look at the youth that we're serving? And just so that they can think, and I know they'll watch the show and they'll hear, you know, how you guys think of youth, and hopefully it causes them, because like you said, like I'm learning every day, every year, different groups of students of how to serve them. And then I'm always trying to figure out or check, you know, like you said, how I see them. Because I know my kids, it's sort of what Hembrick just said, you know, like literally my kids at Centennial are different than my kids at Compton. They're different from my kids at Dominguez. Even though they live in the city, they're different. They have different experiences, different backgrounds, different whatever. And some of it's really different in terms of school culture. So I get that. Same in Long Beach. My Poly group is different than my Wilson group, different than my Cabrillo group. So I'm like, okay, how do I see y'all though? You know, and how do I see you versus and I think Mascani said it, you know, he sees them a certain way, but he sees them a certain way based on the curriculum and the system. Like I'm not necessarily connected to the system, so I'm looking at how do I see them, and it could be based on the community that they live in. You know, when I go to Poly, I'm jumping over the bridge, going down Atlantic, and I'm driving by homeless people. I think one morning it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm seeing two homeless men fighting on the street, and I'm thinking some of the youth that I served might walk past this. How does that affect them? When I'm at Wilson, I'm like, okay, man, you got this side of the school that's just, manicured lawns and nice homes and nice cars, and the other side is not as well taken or taken care of. How do I see them? What are they seeing? How are they affected by what they see? So, I'm gonna take this to them as well, and I want to take it to some other teachers that I know, because I know everybody sees the students that they work with differently. So I appreciate everything that you guys are saying. What time are we going to? You let me know.
As long as you want to go.
Stop it, man. We're gonna go. We're gonna do a part two. I ain't gonna go too long.
Okay.
I think I got, because I probably have like 10 slides and we're on 2. But I want you guys all to just think about it. Even if we don't get to it tonight, just think about it. And then when we come back, we can look at more. So I'll probably go 2 more slides and then we'll be through for the night, and then we'll do a part 2.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah,
And
we do
then,
a part 2. Yeah.
and again, like, I think the questions are, Muscani knows me, so I'm sort of safe. I keep it safe. But the movie and the conversations were so, of course it was written well, but the questions and things that were said uh, stuck out. So like the woman, the teacher or the instructor who was over the program, she used the term "the least of them." So I was like, boom, I heard that. I know that that's not accepted. I know where it comes from, but so I'm using terms that they actually use, and I knew that I thought that it would spark. So I'm glad it did, because you know what it means and you know what it entails. So I guess the next question, I think you guys might have answered this. Do we have to live in the same neighborhoods as the youth we're trying to help in order to really help them? Forget that second question. We'll talk about that later. She mentioned that, but the first one: do the people who work with these youth, should they live in the neighborhoods that they work in? What do you guys think?
I think that it helps, but you don't have to. It's I have a concept that I'm gonna be introducing. If you have the correct intentions, you will adapt and thrive no matter where you are if you have the correct intentions. Case in point is we had one of our team members here, well, Miss J Dub. She came to our school and she was from another area, and she was able to get with those kids and be effective. So I would say no, you don't. But it does help to be familiar. And if you are from the same neighborhood, it helps a lot. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I used to talk to kids at Centennial. I used to tell them, I was from the projects too. A lot of the kids are from the projects. And so I would talk about the Harbor City projects, although it was a lot different, but some of the same stuff goes on. Uh, it definitely helps. But the number one thing is, do they know you care about them? Is number one. No matter where you could have lived there at one time and now you're not there. So you can talk about where they are and where they can go. So that's what happened when I was teaching about property and that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's it for me. Next person.
Brother Machenda.
Yeah, no, yeah, where you live ain't got nothing to do with it. It's who you are. If you have like for myself, I wasn't gang banging coming up, but I was around gang bangers. So I understood at an early age that certain things was foolishness. I didn't know right away, but some people succumb to peer pressure and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, having some experience, street experience and hood experience and things like that does have its place, as far as relating and understanding. You take a brother like Brother McCalman, he's been in the game 10 years at Centennial. In 2023, he's probably got a handle on it, as far as what he sees. A very intelligent guy. So if you've been at Centennial 10 years, like you say, although it's primarily Hispanics, don't matter. That's the order of the day. So um, don't matter where you live. If you have the experience and the desire to help people, that's what it's all about. But it don't hurt, to have experience. Um, are you more effective if you're from the hood versus and dealing with the hood? The jury's still out because of the fact that you can be from the hood and don't have the dynamics or the creativity to promote or to advance others. So it's not a monolithic situation. These kids are at various degrees. Everybody's not in the same boat. Everybody's not from a single family household, although there's a huge majority. My days of working in juvenile halls, the kids that are in trouble. I did my own statistical analysis, and a lot of them are missing dads in the home. And I can go on about that. But at the end of the day, um, everything has its place, everything has its value, and I think that you know, uh, whatever experience and knowledge that you have, the point that you're pursuing, trying to help somebody, that's all that matters. Even though if you don't have the experience, you might learn through hard knocks. You stay in the game, you're gonna learn, and if you hang in the ring, like the old heavyweights used to fight 15 rounds. You stay in the ring 15 rounds, a few fights, you're gonna learn about boxing. You're gonna learn about the game. So I commend Brother McCalman. He's been in the ring, and so he knows what works and what don't work. But again, don't put your guards down. You better use that jab. Because you don't know what's coming in 2024 and 2025. Dynamics change, the demographics change. You never know what's happening, but just stay positive and keep your guards up, but at the same time, just do what you believe that's gonna help others, and then make the necessary corrections, along the way. But anyway, I'm done.
All right. Professor Ross said he stayed ready, so he wanted to get ready. Professor Ross?
Well, I think it's mixed. I think it's good to live in the community where you teach. You get a chance to see the kids at the stores. They get a chance to see you. Problem is, it depends on the person. It may be good for a person to not live in there because they feel more comfortable. They feel that they deserve to live in another neighborhood if the neighborhood is deemed challenging to live in, for violence, for drugs, for crime, and so some people move out the hood for different reasons. I stay in Compton, and I don't have no problem. But I'm older now, and my kids are older, so we don't have too many issues at all. But at the same time, I think to be I don't think you have to live in the neighborhood to be an effective teacher, but it helps you to get to know what are the social issues that a lot of kids have with regards to that affects the campus. They bring their problems to the campus. But then at the same time, the people who work hard and, if they want to buy a house outside the neighborhood, that's fine. Or live in an integrated neighborhood or live way out because the houses are cheaper. There's different reasons why people don't stay in the community. But I don't have no problem living in the community and seeing kids. It depends on if you're active. If you're active in community groups and community activities, you can go to the sporting event. You don't have to worry about a long drive home. There's some benefits to living in the neighborhood. And then there's some personal benefits to live wherever you want to live. That's part of your freedom, to live where you want to live. For different reasons, people move. There was one time you couldn't move because of segregation. You had to live in the Black community. So now some people take advantage of the struggle. Then, if you're making middle class money, two incomes, or just you're an administrator making 6 figures, and if you got the money to move. You understand? What you say? What we used to say, you can take the person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person. What Jesse Jackson used to say, I may have been born in the ghetto, but the ghetto wasn't born in me. So it's a mixed review. Long as it doesn't affect your teaching, long as it doesn't affect your personality, where, like Damian was saying, you think you're better than them. You telling them, hey, don't you want to move? Don't you want to own a house outside the neighborhood? There's a lot of kids go to the service. You know what I'm saying? They just to get out the house. I'm going to the Navy, I'm going to the Army. Volunteer. Because it's a way of getting away. People live, it's up to the person, I think, and they should be able to determine if them moving out the neighborhood affect their ability to teach and to be effective as a teacher.
I think you wanna go to Brother E.
Brother E.
Yeah, me being a student, I appreciate diversity amongst my teachers. I had a couple that lived in the neighborhood, but a couple that lived in suburbs, and so what? I just appreciate diversity. Although I never had an African teacher, most of my teachers being Europeans.
Yeah,
That's about it.
Brother E, you have to forgive me because I'm not able to see all the names. I should have pulled them back up. And I should have came to you a long time ago, but forgive
Oh,
me
it's no
for that.
problem. It's no problem. I'm just listening, and
All right.
that's what I enjoy doing.
Appreciate you.
I'll go with this. I live in Wilmington, and it was a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, a guy in the neighborhood who was coaching basketball, coaching all sports, for little kids at the local park. He was killed at a community outreach event. When we first moved down here, he was like one of the first ones, Hispanic men, he was a Hispanic man, but men to reach out to me. He seen me taking the boys to school, and he reached out and he said, "Hey, do your boys play any sports?" I was like, not yet. Hey, bring them down to the park. They can play basketball, football, baseball, whatever. He coached all of them. So he was like, or you could become a coach, to help the kids in the neighborhood. So, I took him down so they could play basketball with them. And he was doing a lot in the community. He lived down the street from the park. And I asked him, like, I told him what I did. I'm like, so why do you do what you do? And he was like, I'm just trying to help the boys stay focused, stay on track. So then, and he lived in his community for a while, for years. And then they had an event where he was at the park barbecuing for the community. And they said he walked away from his grill, went to the car for whatever reason, and he was killed by two other Hispanic boys. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? But a lot of the other people who coach kids, where their mind was, I got to get out this neighborhood. Here you got a man who's doing good, and they kill him. They was like, he's a neighborhood, he's known in the neighborhood, and he's killed for no reason. They was like, they didn't rob him. He went to his car. He had a nice car, didn't take the car, but for whatever reason, killed him. And I was hearing the other coaches, some of the other men, like, man, we got to get out this neighborhood. But there was like, in the conversation was, we're trying to do good in our own neighborhood. It's not even safe to do good. So, when I see this question, outside of just teaching in a school, like, because I've known teachers who've had their home egged, cars tagged, you know what I mean, because they have to call home or whatever reason. So it made me think of that, because he's walking back and forth to the park. This night he drove because he was bringing his grill and all of that. And I think, well, he would drive to the park for basketball because he would pick up kids around the neighborhood. So it made me think of that, like, man, you got this going on, but then that sparked the conversation of, should we try to do good in our own neighborhood? And it's because of that situation where I know some of the other men are like, we got to move, man. We got to get out of here. I understand, but it had me thinking, like, what's the consensus? Like, do people think we have to live in a neighborhood that we serve, whether it's teaching, volunteering, or, like you said, if it's getting bad, do we got to go? So that's what that question, keeps me, because I'm like, man, if I'm walking outside just trying to talk to some boys, you got to know your neighborhood now. Could that happen? You know what I mean? Because I'm always talking to boys. I go to the mailbox, I see boys, hey, how you doing? But I'm thinking in the back of my mind, could this happen? For no reason other than you want to kill somebody or, whatever reason. So that was, when I see that question, I think about that, because it was just sad. So, but also in the movie, the girl, you guys might remember, she called the lady instructor a positive pimp. And I'm like, like, wow, she sees her in her mind, she sees this woman as you're pimping positivity, but you're a positive pimp. And I was just thinking about that thought, like, could youth see us that way? They may not use that term, they may, doing good, but with some negative connotation attached to it. I was talking to a buddy of mine who he's from Memphis. He used to pimp. So when he saw that when I talked to him about that, he was like, yeah, you just never know, because let me do this, let me do that, let me do it. So I was like, okay, you know what, I'll keep that. So you guys can give me a little bit more on that topic, what you think of when you even see the phrase on the screen, positive pimp. Could you see it attached to what you do? Could you see it as students seeing not maybe you, but others, maybe you being educators? Do you see other educators in that light? What do you guys think?
You can benefit off of the extracurriculars that is provided that will give you more money. You know, you could become a coach. You could do after school programs. You can take advantage of the perks that's available. But again, I'm gonna introduce the correct intentions piece when I finish my book. And if you have the right intentions and you're sincere about what you're doing, you're not pimping. But yes, people that do take advantage of perks. You know, you have substitutes. Well, teachers can substitute and make money. You know, it's just different things that you could do just to get money. And I think if you look at it that way, monetarily, you can pimp. And then there's some people that's really sincere about helping, like that one brother, the Hispanic brother, they got taken out. And that was very unfortunate. That's an unfortunate situation. But yes, it can be seen that way. Yes. Anybody else want to tackle that?
I don't see that term being associated with teaching or working with young people, unless you are just exploiting on the job, you know. But if you're sincere and you committed, they can't pay you enough. You understand? The lowest paid people profession is teachers. The lowest respect position is teachers. One of them. And so I don't see that term as being a positive pimp, unless you are a teacher that just, you know, all you want is your check and you out. You don't want to work with no youth. And so you're not really participating in school activities or starting working with youth or trying to, you know, stay there around, you know. And I don't think that's a pimp. I just think that's just a person that, you know, see life in a way in which they just frustrated with their life, or either, you know, that's just they're a teacher because they couldn't get no further. You understand? You gotta love teaching to teach. Yeah, you gotta want to teach, because there ain't no money in it. It's dangerous and it's problems. You know, you around all them kids and COVID and everything. You know, I would correct the person if they was referred to me as a positive pimp. You know, I said, no, I'm not pimping you or none of these kids. Y'all not my prostitute. You understand? It don't go that way. And you know, I don't see that term. That's what kids would say, because that's their conversation, or that's their words to demean you. Like, you know, I don't want to do what you say. You just pimping up. How am I pimping you, trying to get you to read and write, man? You understand? Now, if I'm just sitting there reading the newspaper and don't care what's going on in the classroom, well, you can say I'm a bad teacher. I don't give a damn. And some people may say that word means that, you know, you're exploiting your job. To me, you got to be holistic as a teacher.
Professor Rob.
Yeah.
I've never heard that word associated with education and teachers. This is the first time I'm ever hearing that.
I never heard positive and pimp in the same sentence.
Yeah, but I I do know that people, like you said, do exploit and take advantage of things that are in place, and they do it just for the money.
You can't blame people for doing it for the money.
Well, I'm saying
What you
they
want
don't,
you
they
what
don't,
you-
they don't, that's just it. It's just the money and
Yeah.
nothing else.
But that don't make them a pimp.
I guess. I mean, I just kind of associate it, but yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just a person that just say, hey, look, I just want my money and I'm gone. You understand? I'm at Long Beach State, and mostly Caucasians. They have events I don't go to. I don't go to their various programs. They got some guest speakers and all that stuff. But I go to Black programs. I go to the student union meeting, Black student union meeting. You know, I go to my interests. But I don't want to be around them. You know what I mean? That's why I live in Combat. I'd rather wake up and see a bunch of Latinos running around than a bunch of white people running around. Me, but that's just me. But what can I tell you? But I don't see, if a person say you're a positive pimp, I would say you're not talking about me. I wouldn't exploit students like that. It's like having kids selling candy as a job. You give them 50 cents, 25 cents a bar, and you keep the dollar. But at least they're getting some out of it. But the point is that I don't see the term applied to teachers or educators. I don't care if they just get paid and move or whatever. That's freedom, that's capitalism. I mean, Joe wanted to coach. He didn't have to coach. He wanted to coach. You gotta want to do things. I can't get mad at teachers that don't want to coach. I can't get mad at a teacher that say, hey, I'm going home. I got kids, I got a husband, I got a wife. I ain't gonna be standing over here to no faculty meetings and staff meetings, about nothing. Union meeting. That's just the way I am. But then there are other teachers that say, you know what? I'm gonna be here all day. I'm gonna be here in the evening. I'm gonna work with the kids after school. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. That's it.
All right. Brother Damian, I think we better take our pause
I think so. I think we're here.
and we'll do a part 2.
Sounds good. I thank you guys just for just sharing your thoughts, because like I said, I do this work with the students probably that you guys are engaging with, but at a different capacity. And I just think that just hearing from you guys helps to, like you said, keep doing what we're doing, but then even encourage others to either step up to their game, or, because I'm talking to teachers all day, every day. So I appreciate you guys.
All right.
Appreciate you and Natasha. So next week we have a colleague of mine, and his name is Big G. He's going to be talking about electric cars. Professor Rob, we have anything for Tuesday?
Got to talk about what's going on, man. Bombing hospitals, and Biden talking about crazy talk. And, you know, so we'll be having an open forum and discussion on that.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and hanging in there. Nice long discussion.
Yeah, because we got to start, you know, getting our water. All prices gonna go up in the war. If the war expands, you know, gas is gonna go up. The air control the gas and oil and food prices gonna go up. I mean, so you might as well just start storing, you know, good items and stuff, you know, because it's gonna get crazy. Yeah.
All right. So each one teach one, Conscious Corner. Everybody have a good evening.
Have a good night.